Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. I have a very special guest here with me. From a young age, C discovered her innate ability to connect with intuition and the spiritual realm as a clairaudient, hearing the subtle whispers of spirits. Her talent for providing insightful reading soon spread by word of mouth, leading her to guide individuals from all walks of life seeking clarity and solace. C is committed to continuously refining her skills to meet the unique need of each client. She holds herself to the highest ethical standards, treating every interaction with confidentiality, respect, and integrity, honoring the intentions of spirit and source. Thank you so much, C, for being on my show. I love your energy already. I love your background, by the way. And I just love your presence. So thank you
Oh
so much for
gosh.
being on my show today.
Gina, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an honor to be here.
Yes, and I'm so excited because we were just talking a little bit about twin flames, and I think was it your blog that it was on? I think you had put on your website
I
about
have Twin Flame blogs and podcasts. I get questions. I get Twin Flames is one of the biggest things that everyone is talking about these days. It's all the rage.
right. And so I would just love to learn more about it. And if you could go ahead and explain the concept of twin
Yeah.
flames for our listeners who may be actually new to the idea, and what distinguishes a twin flame relationship from other types of soul connections?
That's a really good question. So it gets confusing and complicated. All right. So I think it really depends on who you ask. I've had it where I've talked with other clients and they say, well, I've heard a twin flame is this, or I heard a twin flame is this. Normally, what the general definition is that it's essentially two different individuals that are coming together in one soul, if you would say. So kind of two become one is what they're stating. And the idea is that you go around kind of searching for your twin flame on this planet. And once you find them, it's exactly like you had said. It's almost like a soulmate on steroids, and it's an amazing connection and it's fire and it's great. And that's the general term of what a twin flame is. So it's this idea that you walk around the earth, find your human, and then you have this amazing connection after you go through your journey. In my experience, I'll be honest, I actually have had it where it's been confusing, and the twin flame is not always the partner you end up with. It doesn't have to be a romantic connection. I've had it where a twin flame was someone's best friend, a twin flame was someone's sister, a twin flame was a previous relationship that taught them everything they needed to move forward so they can find the soulmate connection. So that's where it kind of gets confusing because there's a bunch of different connections and figuring out which one am I in, how is it going to help me, so how can I move myself to that next stage. That sort of makes it a little bit confusing there.
Right. And I'm
Yeah.
sure, yeah, many people have that question. And who is my twin flame? And many people are actually curious about how to recognize if someone is their twin flame. What are some signs or indicators that one might be in a twin flame relationship?
Good question. So, in my experience, when I read for my clients, the twin flame journey, the hardest connection you're ever going to go through. It literally is like walking through a forest and you can't see anything outside of the trees. You feel lost a lot of the time. It's very hot and cold. So, when I read for my clients, what I find is usually when you meet a twin flame, it essentially starts out being this awesome, amazing cosmic connection. You feel like home with this person. You feel like you've known them forever. But very quickly, there's kind of cracks that you start see developing underneath, and then it becomes very hot and cold. It's not perfect. It's very much about up and down, hot and cold. You don't know where you stand with this person. There's learning lessons to be learned. That's why it's a twin flame and not an easy soulmate connection, and you have to move forward to learn those connections. The hardest part about it is because it is such an intense connection, you don't want to leave your twin flame. So I have it so many times where clients say, see, I feel like I'm nuts. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. I understand everything, but I can't leave this person. And that's why it's usually very difficult to go through the twin flame journey, because the goal of the twin flame journey is to have you recognize and learn the lessons for your soul so you can elevate yourself and your energy to be able to find a great partnership. Now, sometimes that is the twin flame. I've had it with clients where they've had the twin flame, they learn the lessons together, and boom, that's their person. But a lot of times I've found it where that twin flame person or connection that they've had, that's been the learning relationship in order to get to the next relationship, which is a soul connection. So that's where it can be kind of confusing.
Yes, it's like kind of like you're mirroring yourself in a way, and it's like you're looking at yourself in the mirror and recognizing certain challenges that you see the other person have, which are reflecting on yourself and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I saying that correctly?
100%. I always say every relationship is a mirror. So if you don't like the relationship, look in the mirror.
Yes. Yes, because
Yeah.
a little bit about my history. So when I was a professional alcoholic and I was drinking constantly, I was partying. So my drinking came from more so social to habitual to dependency. And then because I was going out a lot and partying a lot, I met my DJ husband at the time. He was obviously, we love to party and we love to socialize, and that lifestyle became inside our own home as well. But the relationship was kind of like not really real because we were always inebriated, and our fights and even our love making would wasn't it didn't feel real. It just felt like it was separate. Why am I talking about this? I just
Yeah.
lost my train of thought. I'm like, where is this going?
No, we were
Oh,
talking
okay.
about twin
Yes.
flames. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, where is this going? So I thought he was like my everything, right? And then it wasn't until we then had separated, divorced, then I needed to rediscover who I was as a spiritual being. And then I was like, I am not ready for a relationship, and I am not going to date anybody besides myself right now because I need to learn who I am. And I need to have a relationship with myself so I can discover who I am, my purpose, and how I can help the world. And then later on, because so I was going to church during my early phases of recovery, and there was like this prayer box, and you would always like write down little prayer notes. And mine was always this: I want a family unit, but I'm thinking in the back of my head, see, I'm thinking in 10 years, not anytime soon, because I was like only 2 years in my recovery journey. Well, sure enough, I started doing different like volunteer work, and I was doing children's ministry where one of the children reminded me of my little son. And I was like, oh, he is just adorable. I love him. He's so cute. And then I saw his dad when come picking up. I didn't pay attention to his dad though. Like I was like, oh, I don't see his mom picking him up. I'm like wondering if he's widowed or what's going on. And then sure enough, I was starting to do street ministry where then I started serving the homeless and just trying to get involved with that because it brought so much joy in my life to help other people. And then I noticed that little boy's father, not on my team, but on a different team. And he was talking to one of my other teammates. And I went ahead and went up to him. I said, oh, by the way, I know your son. He's so cute, blah, blah, blah. And then he's, oh, you know my son? I said, yes. Well, sure enough, just about 2 weeks later, he added me on Facebook. 2 weeks later after that, he messaged me on Facebook Messenger saying, hey, we should get the kids together. I saw that you have a son just around the same age as mine. Let's get them together. That never happened, really. We were just started chatting about our life and everything. And I really felt like, wow, is this how love is supposed to feel like? Where I'm sober minded, but I was thinking in my head, I am not ready for a relationship.
That's
Why is
always
this
what had
being
happened.
thrown at me right now? And then this was put to the test because so it was 2019 and then 2020 we got married in February, and then COVID hit, right?
Mhm.
And so this is really the big test because his parents from India, they came to our wedding and they had to stay with us too, and we just moved in together as
Yeah.
well. And so it was a huge test, and I was like, wow, I learned a lot about myself with him and vice versa now. Why I'm saying this is this a potential a twin flame of mine now, or do you think my ex was a twin flame because he helped me rediscover or discover who I am now because of the trials that I've gone through? I just wanted to get your opinion.
This is where I might blow your mind. So I think your ex was your twin flame. And the reason
Okay.
why I say that is when you got with your ex, that was very passionate. Even though you're saying that it might not have been of sound mind where you were at, there was an idea of you felt like home with this individual. Do you know? It felt like a presence, home of what home represented you at that time. And she didn't really know what home is. Let's be real, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
you were looking at that. So what that person did, he was a mirror to you, and he was your twin flame because he elevated you. And he was actually the one they're showing me that you said, I got to rise above this if I want something better. Do you know, I have to move beyond to do this. So what he did is he actually was the catalyst for you going on your sober journey, joining the ministry, doing all that. And it's not to say you never would have done it without him, but he pushed you to do that. And it had to have such an intense connection or be such an intense connection, because a lot of times they're showing me, even with that individual, there were times where you were on your journey and you're still wondering, did I make a mistake? Should we get back together? Maybe he's changed. Maybe I changed. Things are, we'll see how it goes. So it's this idea of you having to grow past that person. And then essentially what you had to do is you dated yourself, which is what I tell all my clients to do, that you get to the point, the right person only shows up when you're ready. That's what I say. I have all my clients that say, see, when's he going to show up? Give me the date, the time, the year. I want the minute so I know what to wear to get my nails and my makeup done. And I say, it doesn't work like that. You have to do the work. And when you're ready, they show up. And that's exactly what you said. I see that when you were meeting your husband, the current husband, this one, you were in such a great place. You were just enjoying life, loving where you were. You didn't even care if you had a partner, because you were being that partner for yourself. So you had really given yourself all the self-love. So all you did was attract a mirror to it. What I think your husband is your soulmate connection. Mm. And that's where, for me, it can get a little bit confusing, because the twin flame, when you rise past that, that can be the soul connection as well. So I have seen, like I said, individuals grow together or they grow apart, and then your soulmate connection comes in. And this is somebody that is here for the right reasons, the right seasons, and they're here to match your energy. So they're almost like, I like to describe them as reward relationships. So they're the ones that when you do all your work, they show up. Because let's be honest, I don't think if your husband would have showed up even 6 months, they show me, I think if he even came into the picture 6 months to 1 year, you wouldn't have been ready. He would have knocked on the door and been like, Gina, here I am. I'm Mr. Right. And you would have been like, oh, nice to see you. I got to order Uber, go to order pizza. I'll see you later. You might have closed the door. So you had to get ready for him to come in. So I think your ex being that twin flame connection was helpful to raise your vibration and help you do the soul work to accept the love and the unconditional love that you have from your husband now. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that makes sense too. And I remember because he did decide, because I was very irrational in my behaviors. I was fighting him.
Yeah.
I mean, I was never hurting the children, of course not,
no.
but fighting him and just yelling. And it got to a point where he says, you know what, I'm going to keep our son over at my mom's house and we're just going to stay there. Yeah. And that's probably the best thing he did for me.
Yeah.
Although, yes, I was in a deep place of depression and sadness and wanted to die. And I text my friend like, hey, I'm taking this Ativan because I had a lot of anxiety. Yeah. And I told him, I'm going to take these, whatever's left in my bottle of the Ativan here, and then I'm going to drink alcohol. And I don't even care if I live or die anymore.
Yeah.
And then my friend took that seriously, because he contacted my parents, who only lived about maybe 10 minutes away from me at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then who contacted the paramedics, got me from home to the hospital. And then I had to go into inpatient hospital, out to outpatient program. And then I had to start doing a transformation, which then, trust me, that transformation, I still wasn't healed.
Not fun.
It took some time. I still went to rehab, relapse, and I relapsed constantly, but I'm here now, so it's all good. But certain people come in your life, they're in pivotal moments, and I wonder if there are your soulmates. There's more than one, right?
That's what I believe. So I have a lot of clients that message me. They go, see, what happens if my soulmate dies in this lifetime? Do I not get another soulmate? And my joke I like to say is, there's not just one soulmate. There's different souls you can mate with. Now, there's not a million of them. It's not like you see everyone and you go, oh, that's my soulmate. That's my soulmate. But I believe that when we sort of write our story to come into this current existence, so we can be able to learn the lessons that we want to learn in this lifetime, we also write in certain people and experiences. And some people come into our life, as you've probably heard the saying, for a season, reason, or a lifetime. So I've had it with clients where they've had 2 soulmates. I had one, I could share this with you because I actually did tell this client this morning, I was going to do a podcast, and she is best friends with her ex-husband, but she was like, that's my soulmate, and then that relationship ended. They went through their own times. They obviously weren't best friends to begin with, but now they've gotten to a place of being best friends, and she's with a new husband. And she goes, and see, I wonder, is he also my soulmate? I said, yeah, you have 2 different soulmates, because the time you were and who you were with the ex-husband is not who you are with the new husband. Doesn't mean that either one is better or worse. It's a different reality. And you were in one reality here, and now you're in one reality here. So you can have multiple soulmates. The way that you can recognize this is that it's not just your regular humdrum relationship or humdrum experience. They normally come into your life for a reason and a season, and they come in during a very pivotal or instrumental kind of moment in your life.
It's so true. Yes, because I've had many of those in different
Right?
seasons for different reasons. And I look back, I'm like, there's a handful of them that, wow, like coaches, even mentors, even best friends that are no longer my friends anymore. They served as a great purpose in my life. And it made me transform in a way that I'm very grateful that they were in my lives. So I love that.
Yeah,
Now
I think so.
there,
I think we get, sorry, I was just gonna say, I think we get hung up on keeping people. Do you know,
Mhm.
I see this a lot with my clients where they get stuck on a certain person or a certain experience and they go, but this has to be it. This has to work, or this is the one. And I say, why does it have to be? Why can't it just be that they were here to show you a lesson or help you learn something? You contributed to their life, they're contributed to your life, and then everybody goes on their way. And that's not bad or good. That's just the way it can be.
Yes, I say everyone's like my spiritual teacher. I'm learning from everybody, even if even the negative Nancy's out there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm learning from them.
Yeah.
Good or bad experiences, they're all experiences that help us grow in life, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. So there's a lot of discussion around the separation phase that often occurs into twin flame
Yeah.
relationships. Can you go ahead and explain why the separation happens and how it serves the growth of both individuals?
Oh gosh, you have such good questions. So the separation phase is normally what happens in a twin flame relationship where kind of like where you've kind of said you've had with your ex-husband, you kind of hit that, I call it rock bottom.
Yeah.
That's where you hit that point where you're kind of like, we cannot exist anymore as we are currently existing, right? So that's where one will normally leave. And when you leave that experience, the good news is that they are physically no longer in your life. What makes it more difficult, especially with twin flames, is you're still connected on a soul connection level. So I've had it with clients where they are still dreaming about that twin flame. They can feel their thoughts of their twin flame. And I've literally had this where I read with a client and I said, you know what they're going to text you before they text you. They're like, see, it's so crazy you could see that because I just feel it 10 minutes before and I get a text from this person. They can feel telepathy that they're actually talking with their twin flame in that same experience, because your souls are still connected. Just because you're not physically in union with someone doesn't have to mean that you're not soulfully connected in union with that individual. So what the separation phase is meant to do, it's meant to have you learn your lesson. So the way that I've seen this kind of pan out, I've had it where twin flames have separated, both have gone into different relationships. And then you get what's called the runner and the chaser. And I've had it where one individual has been in a relationship and the other one's single. And then the other one says, how do I get them to break up with their partner and come back to me? And then the other one becomes, in a relationship and the other one becomes single. And then that one's trying to chase that one. So we're going back and forth, back and forth. And again, the way that you can get through the twin flame experience is to think about, wait a second, what is this meant to teach my soul? And that's what I always tell clients to do. I said, if you want to help yourself through the twin flame connection and through the separation phase, take a moment, pause, put your hand on your heart, because that's where your center is connected to consciousness, and ask yourself, what is this that universe wants me to learn? And listen, I'll tell you right now, we're all connected to the same source. We all have collective consciousness. So if you just take time to listen, you will get an answer. Will you get it right away? Maybe not, just means listen a little bit more, try again, right? Next day or the next day. Will you like the answer? 100% no. That's always what I tell my clients. I say, you're coming to me because I'm the no nonsense psychic. I'm not here to give you the answers you want. I'm here to give you the answers you need. But that's what the separation phase is for. Now, how I've seen it play out in sort of the ending of it, I've had it where twin flames get back together and then it becomes a soulmate connection, because at that point, when they come back together, they're not the same people. So essentially they might come back into a relationship, but it's a brand new relationship. And I've had this where I've read for clients and I've said, I describe a guy and I say, oh, this is the guy, and he's really great. Does this make any sense to you? And she goes, see, it's fascinating. You're describing the exact guy you read for me before. That's my ex. And I said, no, I don't think it is, because it doesn't feel like the same energy. Are you sure? She goes, 100%, because he's come into back my life now. He's come back, but he's not the same person. It's almost like I'm having a new relationship with a totally different person, but yet they are physically the same person. So that's where they can kind of come back in union. I've seen it where twin flames, actually, you're meant to just go off and you end up finding your perfect matches, you know, like you with your soulmate, and everyone kind of learns what they have to do. And that's what the twin flame connection was for. And then other times I've had it where a twin flame comes back to not necessarily be a romantic connection, but to still be present in, you know, the individual's life. So maybe they'll come back just to be a friend, or maybe it's someone you just check in with every couple months, see how you're doing, just to have that connection, almost like a family member, like just to have them there. So that's where I've sort of seen the separation and the twin flame connection go. The thing about it is it's a bitch. It's a bitch of a journey. I'm not going to lie to you. It's again, the hardest thing I've seen my clients go through. It is very, very difficult.
And it's so funny that you say that even though they're not there with you physically, they are there spiritually. And it's
100%.
true. Like in dreams, like, well, why am I dreaming about my ex all the time? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, is he trying to haunt me? I was thinking, nothing against him at all.
No, but it's so true. But that's him actually communicating with you in dreams. You know, we don't have to be in the physical union. Again, this is just the meat body suit that we're choosing for this current existence.
Right.
But when we're sleeping, we're out of that meat body suit, you know? So that's where we get that opportunity to connect and have those conversations.
Yeah. And I'm just like, why are we were partying again? Why are you?
Yeah.
He was on stage doing a talk, and I'm like, why are you on stage? I'm supposed to be on stage soon. I'm like, he's
Get
stealing
off,
my talk.
Funny.
Oh my gosh. So yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how can someone best handle the emotional intensity that comes with being in a twin flame relationship? And are there any specific like practices or mindsets that can help?
Great question. So I think not everything is going to work for everyone, you know? So I always have a lot of clients just say, see, give me the pill. Tell me what the magic answer is. I just want to know what it is. And I said, well, if it was that easy, what would you be doing on this planet? What would you have to learn? You know? So the first thing I always tell clients is just first off, take a step, take a breath, and be patient. Okay. We're all going to get to the finish line. I like to make a joke and say the finish line is death. We're all going to get there. It just is a difference of how stressful you're going to make your life to get there. You know, so enjoy it. Take a moment, take a deep breath. And then the first thing you want to do is just recognize it. Because I find a lot of clients when they come to me, again, I'm not doing anything special. We all have this intuition and consciousness. The way I joke around is I tell clients, it's almost like, imagine we're in a room and everyone's talking. I just can listen to the back of the room a little bit better to hear that one conversation I need to hear so you can get the messages that you need to move positively forward. So I tell clients, take a deep breath. Don't try to figure it out all at once, but just sometimes the validation of that can help, because a lot of my clients kind of come to me, and if they can validate, or if I tell them something and they go, oh my gosh, see, that's exactly what's happening. Now that I know what it is, I can move forward from it. So that's the best thing, to just kind of see if you can, and you can do this on your own. You can ask yourself and say, is this a twin flame connection? What is this meant to teach me? Right. Next thing I love the journal. I'm a big journal fan. I wish that I could force everybody to journal each day. That I think would be so helpful. And just take out a piece of paper and just kind of journal your thoughts. Doesn't have to be right or wrong, just anything that comes to your mind. Because what you're doing when you're doing that is you're taking out the gook of your mind, as I like to say, and you're just kind of putting it down on paper so you can allow your intuition to really step in without the barriers. And the biggest one that I like to recommend, but it's also the hardest one, is I tell people, go into an active meditation exercise, get into a room where you're not going to be disturbed, close your eyes, literally imagine yourself talking to your twin flame, right? Tell them what you want to say to them, ask them questions, listen to what they say. Now, this is going to be the really woo-woo crazy part. You're not just talking to yourself, you know, again, kind of like what we referenced before. When you do this, you are connecting with your twin flame. And I have had so many clients message me and email me and say, see, it's crazy. I started doing that exercise and I heard things from my twin flame and I wrote them down. And then all of a sudden they came about, or all of a sudden we ended up talking about it, or all of a sudden my twin flame didn't contact me for 6 months. And then all of a sudden he reached out. Because what you're doing is you're actually connecting with that twin flame and you're having that conscious connection. The great thing is you're bypassing the body and you're bypassing all the bullshit that comes with the mind. So you're
Right.
actually getting to that level. So these are a few things you can do. And then the biggest thing is patience. Just give yourself patience. This isn't going to come about in the time span you want it to come about. I always like to joke around and say human time, spirit time, two totally different things. So the more you can just be patient and say, I'm just going to take a breath and I'm going to allow this journey to unfold and I'm going to allow myself to learn the lessons. And don't be mad at yourself if you get back on the crazy train, as I like to say. I have lots of clients that I have a reading with and they go, see, you're going to hate me. I got back together with my twin flame again. I'm sorry. I said, don't be sorry. Sometimes you need a couple of kicks of the can to learn the lesson. And that's fine. There's no judgment with that. You can get off, get back on, get off, get back on. Because eventually you're going to look at that train and say, maybe I'll let this one pass. And that's when you've elevated that soul.
That's right. And in cases where like one twin flame is not as spiritually aware or ready as the other, how can the more aware twin navigate, navigate with more I guess navigate this disparity without creating more conflict or distance?
Correct. Yeah. That's where that meditation exercise really comes in handy because when you get into that meditative state and you look to connect with them on a meditation level, on that soul connection level, you're not disturbing anything in the physical realm. The other thing you can do is you can ask to communicate with them through dreams. So you can go to bed at night and say, hey, I'd like my twin flame to know this, or I'd like to pass on this message, and go to sleep and see what happens. I've had clients do this and they have dreams where things get resolved. I think a big thing that we do on this planet that's really fun is we like to kind of take problems and wrestle them to the ground. And we're like, I'm going to solve this. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make this person see it this way,
Yeah.
That's the purpose. I think the idea is I say you can't change anyone else, but you can change yourself. And once you change yourself, you do affect their reality. So if you don't focus on trying to force them to recognize this is a twin flame connection, force them to come back in union with you, if you let that all go and you say the universe will take care of that, but you work on having the communication you want to have with your twin flame in the sort of, we'll call it the spiritual sense, to sort of lack of a better word, that allows you to continue to have that soul connection, that collective consciousness connection with them, without having to actually do so with the physical boundaries of what we have with the body and the mind. And I find a lot of clients find doing that kind of stuff, there's some amazing things that happen when you kind of bypass that.
Yeah, so true. I was just thinking, like, do people get like super obsessed with finding their twin flame? Like, oh, I need to find my twin flame right away, and I need to make it work. And do they go on this journey just to find their twin flame?
Yeah, and that's I think the hardest part for me because when I'm reading for clients, it's funny. It's almost like I'm looking at a movie, but I can kind of see the other side of it, the perspective, but I can feel what my client is going through. So sometimes it's really hard to kind of I can't convince anybody anything. That's not my job. My job is to give you the information and then, you get to go on your journey and path. But I find that with a lot of clients, they get stuck on things, so they'll get stuck on a particular twin flame experience or a particular outcome to a twin flame experience. And I've had a lot of time where a client will say, no, see, that's not it. I don't think that's it. And they just don't like the answer. But I'm not going to, I don't lie to my clients and I'm not going to give you a different answer, So I say, well, I'm sorry about that, but that's what I'm getting, And then I get so many emails where clients will message me going, hey, C, I'm really sorry. You were right. I thought about it. And I think that's the hard part is, again, when we try to hold on to something, don't try to make a twin flame something. Allow it to be, And if the twin flame experience is supposed to work out in the sense where, again, you join in romantic union, fantastic. If it's not meant to join in the romantic union, it's going to give you something better because the universe always gives you what you want and need or something better. The problem is we don't always know what's better for ourselves because we can't see the other side. So if you could just take a breath and say, maybe this has got me and maybe there's a reason all this is happening and I'm going to let go. I'm just going to let go and I'm just going to free fall and I'm going to let this journey happen and I'm going to be caught. I'm going to allow myself to be caught in the right way and have the universe position me to where I should be. I find that's a little bit easier. The hard thing is it's so easy for me to say it. I always say it's easy for the crazy psychic lady to say it on the other side of the phone. So much harder to do, which I completely understand. But if anyone just did a little bit of this, I think it would make their journey easier and not as stressful.
So true. And thank you for your beautiful gifts, by the way. I was going to ask you, when did you discover your gifts?
Oh, I've been reading forever. I can't even really remember it at this point, but it's been like breathing air to me, for lack of a better word. And again, what I always tell people is I'm not doing anything special. Like I always have clients that say, oh, see, thank you so much for, your gifts. I say, we all have the same thing. All I'm doing is I pick up the telephone and I listen and I just tell you what I get. I like to make the joke. I feel like sometimes I'm the ventriloquist dummy with the hand up the butt. I'm just saying what I get. And we can all do this. There's no difference. No one has this, I am higher or mightier than thou. Some people, like a lot of other things, it's a little more honed in individuals, and I think if someone wants to really focus on their own intuition, I always say it starts by getting quiet. And the problem is we're so used to listening to all the noise in the world. To get to a place where you can actually quiet your mind completely, that's step number one. Because once you do that, you allow yourself to be able to hear messages, and then you can get those refined and more refined and more refined until you start building up your intuition that way. So everybody can do this. It's just a bit of a practice.
It's so true. Like I'd known I always had some type of gift because I was able to see when I was a baby. That was my first memory,
Yep.
seeing animals in my crib.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
like a crow or a raven. I'm not sure which one it was, but had red eyes. I remember that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And then, but I see crows all the time. So they used to be so annoying to me when I was, I don't know, growing up. They were always around me like, why? What's wrong with my evil or something?
No, but yes, I hear
You
you.
see, you see crows as like being like on the darker side, but it's not the case.
No.
Uh, they're such a beautiful animal, and now I embrace them so much more, and I communicate with them, and I think they're dropping some gifts in my
Yeah,
my backyard too.
yeah.
My son was getting a little seashell. He's been wanting seashells because we're very connected, my little kids and I. I mean, one's not little anymore. He's 16, but the other one is about 8 years old.
Yeah.
And then he's like, Mommy, look at what I found outside. And I was like, let me see. And it was a little shell, seashell, but like a mussel shell. And I'm like, where did the mussel shell come from? Right.
Right?
And
Fascinating.
and there's a lot of
Yeah.
crows that come and visit, and you hear them too. And I said, honey, there's a lot of crows that come. Do you know they actually bring gifts?
Yeah.
We just communicate with them and just spread love to them, and they give us gifts. We feed them and they just bring us stuff.
That's
He's like,
right.
really? He's like, yeah. He said,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna save this because he's been wanting seashells. And
Yeah.
anyway, so I thought that was super cool. But back to what I was saying is I really well, I masked everything, all my gifts. But it's
Yeah.
very interesting. See, so when I was drinking heavily, my gifts were of a negative, like
Yes.
entities around me. I noticed that more paranormal activities
Yeah.
happening around me, demonic things too, where I would hear growls. This is maybe like a little bit too much for some of the people that are listening, but I have to be real. This is my experience of what
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
gone through. Scratches, like I had
Yep.
scratches. I mean, bruises all over my body. I don't know if you saw the movie Conjuring, but I felt like that lady who had bruises everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
body was, I think, literally being possessed. And so I
Yeah.
had experienced that, but yet I was drinking heavily. But when I got off drinking, it changed completely. And then I started having different type of experiences where
Yeah.
now I'm hearing things. One time I was in the bathroom. I had a long day at work, so I also do massage therapy.
Yeah.
And I was upstairs and I thought I heard my husband say, "Oh, Gina," because he has a way to say Gina. And then I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh no, I don't want to go downstairs." I said, "What do you want? What did you want?" And he's like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
never called you." I said, "You
Yeah.
did." I said,
Yeah.
"Okay, different dimension, Victor." I was saying.
Yeah.
But I'm embracing my gifts now, and I'm really embracing and loving
Yeah.
exactly what is being shown. I'm connected to the divine, and I get information constantly because I'm always asking. And that
That's right.
meditation is very important. So I'm so happy you brought that up. And meditation could
Yeah.
just be just a moment of silence, a pause, where you're not having all that noise in your head.
Absolutely.
Breathing exercises, a walk in the park,
Yes.
just looking at a butterfly outside and just noticing its wings and everything. It's just those are little parts of meditations, even
Yeah.
driving too sometimes.
Yeah.
Can be meditation.
No, it's true. It's hypnotic driving. You get into a trance. Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you ever notice when you're driving and you play your favorite song and you turn on your that frequency that uplifts you, then you totally change, your mood changes completely.
Right?
I'm like,
Yeah. That's the
it
gift of
feels
music.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate you. And where can our listeners go ahead and contact you if they want to book a reading, if they want to find you on social media? Where can they connect
Sure.
with you?
Easiest thing is just head to the website. So it's just C Psychic Readings, the letter C. So pretty easy. And there you can kind of learn a little bit more about me. You can read about some of the services I offer. I have a little bit of a podcast too, where I kind of discuss twin flames and intuition, manifestation, all that kind of good stuff. So if it's something you want to kind of pop into and listen, it's helpful in healing, you can definitely just check that out there.
Yeah. What's the name of your podcast?
I call it Life Lessons with a Psychic Intuitive Podcast. So what I do is I just kind of zone on in and I just say, okay, Spirit, what do we want to talk about this week? And anything I can kind of offer out there is just sort of what I spew out. And I've been blessed that I have a lot of people that kind of email me and message me saying, oh, see, it's so funny you did that podcast. I was struggling with this, or oh, it was the exact thing I was thinking about. It's like you read my mind. So for me, as long as healing messages are getting out there and it's helping people, that's all that matters.
Right. Wow. Beautiful. And I will have everything in the show notes. But finally, what role do twin flames play in our broader spiritual journeys, and why do these connections exist from a spiritual perspective?
Yeah, good question. I think it's really just meant for you to learn and raise your vibration. So, we've heard the expression that pressure makes diamonds, right? And if you think about it, when have you ever really changed state, or when have you ever really transformed yourself? We don't do it when everything's going right and perfect and we're happy and everything's great. The lessons come in the hardest times. The lessons come when you actually sort of face that fear, face the uncertainty, and step beyond that. And that's what the twin flame journey really is. Again, it will be, if not the hardest, one of the hardest journeys that you ever go through, because it is meant to be a catalyst to put that pressure on you to be that difficult experience. It's not meant to be easy. So you can actually change states and raise your vibration to that next level so you can attract the things that you actually want in your life.
Just like my ex.
That's it. That's
like
it, right?
my twin
Everyone
flame
serves a
ex.
purpose. And that's why we're grateful to him.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, I loved our conversation. See, is there any last thoughts or any words you'd like to share?
No, I think this has been great, Gina. And again, I just want to thank you very much for doing this and having this podcast and being so real and open with this, because your journey is special and it's a journey that a lot of people are going through. And just you being out there and kind of just expressing this, saying, like, hey, I went through this and I got through this. It really gives people that sort of feeling and that confidence to know that, hey, if she can do it, I can do it. And I always say, in this life, we are all meant to be teachers and students. So you teach and then you learn, and that's where you're at. So I just want to thank you for the work you're doing, because I think it's very blessed.
Oh, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
yes, I every day I'm learning something new. And the more that I know, the more that I do not know.
Yeah. That's
Because
good. That's the place to be. That's how the learning happens, saying, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's been an honor. Thank you so much, C, for being on my show today.
Thank you so much, Gina. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.